You guys looking forward to your nice 4-day weekend? Mhm. We're doing what we did yesterday, but I think I said that this is what we'd be doing. I said it in one of the classes. Do you guys remember what we're going to add today? Nah, we already had fractional exponents yesterday. That's what we learned. With variables. I felt like yesterday you got it. Like, I think you guys knocked that one out of the park. Good job. So today is actually just the easier version. I know that sometimes we think like if there's variables involved, everything needs to get harder, but provided that you can do basic like 5th grade arithmetic with fractions, then you should be just fine. So assuming you know how to multiply like a fraction by a whole number. So I'll go nice and slow through the first couple. Got 7 examples today. They each go really, really quick. You should have lots of time to get your worksheet done. So first one, we're going to have 125 m to the power of 9. And we're going to raise that entire quantity up to the power of 2/3. So now what we're doing is we're combining the properties of exponents from a prior quiz with what we learned yesterday, how to work with fractional exponents. So patiently, just like before, we're going to take the exponent on the outside and we're going to distribute it first to the 125. And then second, we're going to distribute it to the variable. So we want to do this in steps. So part of this is what we learned yesterday, and that's the first part. So we're going to take the number 125, and we're going to raise it to the power of 2/3. Right? And that's a math problem. That's why yesterday came before today, because we want to make sure you know how to do that, which I think you do. You're good. We'll get to that in a second. And then if we follow the yellow arrow, we have an m that already has a power of 9. But we're going to give it a new exponent. Also, we're going to stack. And what operation do we use when we stack exponents? We multiply, right? It's not actually 9 to the power of 2/3. Remember that. It's not exponentiation at that point in time. When you have an exponent and you feed it another upper exponent, that's when you actually just multiply those two together. So we've got a couple math problems to conquer here, both of which we're good to go on, I think. Let's start with the numbery part. That was yesterday's work. What does the number I'm circling do? Say again? It's the index. Very good. So we're going to make a root that has an index of 3. And inside that root, bless you, we're going to put the number 125. And then, of course, remember also the number I'm circling in green. What does he do? Yeah, he's your power. He's your exponent, right? So we know from yesterday what each of those numbers does. Let's work that out real quick. What is the cube root of 125? It is. And then what is 5 up to the green exponent, 5 squared? 25. Nice. So what we know so far is that our answer is going to involve the number 25. And that came from the first half of the distribution. And again, that's just a piggyback off of yesterday's lesson there. And now for some real basic math, we have to do the variable part. And like you guys said, we multiply. A couple of you said it anyways, but I know y'all were thinking it. If something already has an exponent and you re-exponent it, you with me there, Brendel? Good. So when we exponent an exponent, we multiply. So what we have to do here is venture back into the land of 4th grade. And I know sometimes that can be a little bit harsh, but we have to multiply those two numbers together. So what's the trick when you want to multiply a whole number by a fraction? You can do the hook if it works. And what if the hook didn't work? Absolutely, right. And I love the way you check. That's a perfect order in which to check things. If the hook, bless you, if the hook works, do it. And how do we know if the hook does or doesn't work? Like, because I don't want to have to make 9 into a 1 and cross stuff out. I'd rather not. That's too much work. So it's really early and it's Thursday. So how do I check the hook? I can't hear. I'm sorry, what? Close. That's you had the right kind of order of the numbers, but your operations are backwards.
9 divided by 2.
It's 9 divided by 3 and then times 2. So Cruz, you had the right operators. You just had them in the flip order. So remember when we start the hook, I'll kind of draw it over here in white for you. When you draw your little fish hook, remember that the first half of the journey of the hook is division. Because when you're going down, you're dividing. So that 9, when you divide it down by 3 is 3, and 3 times 2 is. So we just simply put on an m to the 6th, and we are done. I know. Today, everything will be hookable. Okay. I'm telling you that now. I hate to take the surprise element out of it, but you won't have any exponents when you're done that are still fractions, because the only place it would show up would be on the X or the Y or the M or whatever, and they all hook. Right. And you'll see that in all these examples as well. Everything's hookable. So that's that. Let's do 64K. And we need to parenthesize that. And let's raise it up to the power of negative 3 over 2. So we, again, as always, want to be patient. There's no sense in like trying to race the clock or anything like that. So we're going to take first the 64, and we're going to raise it to the power of negative 3 over 2. No sweat, no worries. And then we're going to take the K, which I like this because the K, and I meant to give, why didn't I? Oh, I hadn't, I'm sorry. Wait, look, I copied the problem down wrong off my, I just forgot to, there's a little 8 right here. See where I'm adding that? Yeah, my bad. So you forgot to write it down. So we have a K that already has a power of 8, but we're going to re-exponentiate it with a new exponent of negative 3 over 2. So I'm not really doing any work in that first step. I'm just illustrating again, what are we doing? What are we doing? Now the question comes like, how do we do it? Well, let's get to it. So tell me about that. We're going to need a square root. That's what the 2 says right down here, is that we're going to need a square root, right? And when we're done square rooting, we're going to raise it to the power of 3. But there's a problem, and I'm going to point to it with a purple arrow. It's a negative. So what does that mean really at the end of the day? I mean, yeah, but there it is. Remember, that's what we do when something has a negative exponent, is we really just wind up moving it to the bottom, or if it were in the bottom, we'd move it back up to the top. But these are always today going to start on the top. So let's do the math on the square root of 64 raised to the power of 3. What is the square root of 64? 8. And what is 8 to the third? Do you remember that one from yesterday? It's 512. So in my answer right now, I know that I need a fraction. Unlike the last problem, I need a fraction. And I know I'm going to have a 512 in the bottom. And again, every single problem, you're going to have to face the music here. You got to do a little bit of basic math. But again, the hook works nicely, eh? What's 8 divided down by 2? And what's 4 times negative 3? Negative 12. So what does that mean about my K? It'll also go downstairs because we don't want to leave a K to the negative 12th. Like that's just a no-no, right? So we're going to take our K to the 12th and we're going to move it downstairs. And that's like, oh, there's nothing left. So of course we put a 1 like that. So sometimes both portions wind up downstairs. Sometimes, as you'll see here in a few examples, some parts wind upstairs and some parts wind up downstairs. So far, so good. Let's go again, round 3. We're going to do 243. X to the 5th. That entire quantity raised to the power of 4/5. see if we can bust out some mental math. You had a lot of practice on this yesterday, but I certainly don't expect it of you. I just was seeing if maybe you could. So if I take this exponent and go and airdrop it onto the 243, what kind of root are we taking? A fifth. Anyone know the fifth root of 243? It is 3. And then when I take 3 and I raise it to the power of 4, what do I get?
81.
And it'll stay on top because it's a positive exponent. So I have an 81, right? And now it's time to move on to the variable, and you can just hook it right here. While you notice I'm showing a little less work this time, eh? And so I'm going to take the 5, I'm going to hook it down, divided by 5. What's 5 divided by 5? 1 times 4.
4.
Boom. See how much quicker that one went? Okay. That was round 3. Everybody good? Round 4 incoming. 81 n to the 12th, that quantity raised to the power of -3/4. What you learn about a problem after you do a couple of them is you're like, isn't everything just going to wind up in the bottom? And the answer is yeah, because 81 is going to get a negative power, n's going to get a negative power. So I just kind of feel like I should just start this problem by going like this. It's inevitable, huh? There's going to be nothing left on top. Everyone's moving down, making a party downstairs in the basement. So just stick a 1 up there. And now we'll just do all the math and stick it downstairs. So on the 81, what kind of root are we taking? What index, what flavor of root? Nope. It's a 4th root because we use the bottom, remember, to determine the type of root. Be very specific. The bottom of the fraction is your root flavor. So we're 4th rooting 81. What is that? It's 3. And we're taking that 3 and raising it up to what power? 3rd, right here. 3 cubed is?
7.
It is. So I'm going to slap a 27 downstairs, halfway home, baby. And now we're going to go do the variable. And again, it's going downstairs. So you can kind of, once you acknowledge where it's going to wind up, you can kind of ignore the negative now. We've already taken care of that. What's 12 divided by 4? 3 times 3. So we got n to the 9. Yeah. If we were playing Rocket League, we would type this into the quick chat. Easy, right? We were toxic. All right, let's head on to the next one. 289 times k to the -4th. Watch out now. That quantity is going to be raised to the power of 3/2. Yeah, it's exactly where we're at in our lives right now. Is it looks totally scary, and it's just not. We're good, man. So let's talk first off future plans here. I hope you agree that the 289 is going to wind up upstairs. Why? Why do we know that? Because he's already got a positive exponent of 1, and we're going to give him more exponent of positive. So the number part's going to go upstairs. Why do we know the k is going to go downstairs? Because it has a negative, and we're going to multiply it by a positive, and we know that a negative times a positive makes a negative. So already, to make this not a bigger deal than it is, I can construct my answer as a fraction and just place, like, get the template ready. So let's deal with the 289 first. What kind of root are we going to be taking of this 289? A square root. Very good. And what is the square root of 289?
14.
It is. And this one, I'm so sorry, I did not plan this well. I'm telling you no calculators, and I accidentally wrote one on the notes that we need a calculator for, because you guys don't have 17 to the 3rd, do you? Yeah, I didn't think so. It's 4,913. I'll give you a helper on that one. So we're going to stick a 4,913 on top. Apologies for that. All right, and then on the bottom, again, just ignore the negative now. We've already done the work to say we know where it's going to go. Just ignore the dumb thing. What's 4 divided by 2? And again, just ignore the negative. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 times 3 is? We already know that it's negative, so we already know we're putting it downstairs. But make sure you put it down there as k to the 6th, not k to the -6th. Rocking it?
Yeah.
2 more. Let's make sure we're solid gold, and then we should be able to blow right through today's assignment. So we have the quantity of 512. M to the -6th. closed quantity to the power of -4 thirds. Again, let's think future plans. Tell the future. Clairvoyant. M actually
M goes upstairs.
right. And so in a twist of interesting sort of woo, M is going to wind up staying upstairs and the number is going to go downstairs because we think about how that negative exponent outside is going to impact each of the guys. So the negative exponent is going to take this 512 and make him go down. So just again, thinking about laying out the groundwork, the template, I just make a fraction because I know I'm going to need one. And then I got a place to put everybody that I need. So as far as the 512 is concerned, what kind of root E2 are we going to take? Cube, third root. Can't ever get those backwards. The bottom one is the flavor of the root. So we know that we have to take a third or a cube root of 512. What is the cube root of 512? It is. And what's 8 to the 4th? Say it again. Sounds good. So we're going to take 4,096. And again, where are we going to put it? Bottom. Because it came out as a negative exponent when we were all done. And then we're going to work with the M, and we're just going to do our little hook trick here. So at this point, this is what is hard for me sometimes is you guys still kind of leave negatives hanging around for too long. Just think big picture. You're going to do a negative times a negative. What is that? So forget the negatives. We already know the fate. We're going to put it upstairs. So to heck with the negatives. What's 6 divided by 3? 2 times 4. So we're going to stick an M to the 8th upstairs, and voila. Done. Right. And just for your information, there will be a few problems where there's no number. I don't want you guys to get confused. So it's not like it's actually less work, but if you get a problem that's like n to the, I don't know, like 4 thirds raised to the power of 9. Don't panic, right? I mean, that's because there's just no number to work with. So does the hook work on this?
Yeah.
It does, right? So you just go 9 divided by 3 is 3. 3 times 4 is 12. So your answer would just be like end of 12. Good. So I don't want you to think that that's like a trick question. If there's no number, you should be like, hey, nice. Thanks for saving me a little time. So you guys got it? No questions?